Welcome back to another episode of the Noah Ryan Show, the weekly recap you didn't know you needed. This week is going to have 3 weeks put in one because I am really behind. And I'm sorry about that. I will be getting better. I have new and exciting things coming up, including a streaming schedule. Yes, I'm back on the streams and other long-form content that I'm really excited to show you guys. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss another amazing video quite like this one.
So, in a couple months, I will have collected all the chipmunks in the world, and I will unleash them. You don't know where, and you don't know when, but it will happen. What? You've been collecting squirrels this whole time? I'm going to have to rethink my name as the Master of Chipmunks. The Chipmunk King. Monkzilla. The Mad Nutter. We'll work on it. Welcome back to another episode of the Preschool Apprentice. Today was water day at day camp, okay? And quite frankly, I don't know why they call it day camp. There's no camping, okay? My mommy took me camping one time and we stayed in these little tent things. It was disgusting, okay? But we don't camp, and I don't know why they call it day camp. There's no camping. It's no camp. No camp at all. You don't camp. You don't do any camping. But anyways, regurgitative. We had water day and we threw balloons at the teacher. It was fantastic. The balloons were flipping and flying everywhere, and I got little Joe wet, okay? I got Sleepy Joe so wet, he looked like he peed his pants, and quite frankly, that's what we did. We called him Little Pee-Pee Pants, okay? Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Last night, my mommy and daddy took me to see fireworks, okay? It's this thing that goes boomy-woomy in the sky, okay? Tremendous booms. They bring the boom, big boom, quite frankly, the biggest boom, but irregardless, regurgitative. They're called fireworks, and quite frankly, duh, we know fireworks. Why are we saying that, okay? Fireworks. Fire's been working for a long time, quite frankly, a lot longer than anybody's ever worked. Fire has been working, okay? The caveman, they found fire, okay? They found fire, then the wheel, quite frankly. But they couldn't do anything with the wheel. They just kind of rolled it and said, ooh, ooh, wheel, okay? But irregardless, regurgitative. Fireworks. I don't know why they don't just call it big boomy woomy, okay? Let's go see some big woomy woomy. I think that'd be great, okay? Or, color. We call it the colorful woomy woomy. The colorful boomy woomy. Because there's a lot of colors, fantastic colors. We love the colors of the big boomy woomy, okay? Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today, the teacher told us all about laptops, okay? And quite frankly, I thought it was going to be a little top on the lap, okay? And I was so excited. I love tops. You spin them, and they do the little spinny, swoop, 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 crash and burn thingy. You spin the tops. Tommy spins his top. I spin my top, and they top together. They go spinny, winny, woomy, wimey, all over the place. And quite frankly, it wasn't that, okay? I was so excited. It wasn't that. It ended up being a computer, okay? So I don't know why they don't call it a lapputer or a labrador. I mean, that sounds like a Labrador, okay? And I love those dogs. Those dogs are so cute. Have you seen a Labrador? Oh my gosh, they're so cute. But quite frankly, I don't know why they call it a laptop. It's not a top, okay? And quite frankly, sometimes people put it on a desk, so it's not even going on a lap. So why don't they call it a desk computer, a desk scooter? I think it's be great, okay? Desk scooter. Welcome back to another episode of the Preschool Apprentice. Today was water day at day camp, okay? And quite frankly, I don't know why they call it day camp. There's no camping, okay? My mommy took me camping one time and we stayed in these little tent things. It was disgusting, okay? But we don't camp, and I don't know why they call it day camp. There's no camping. It's no camp. No camp at all. You don't camp. You don't do any camping. But anyways, irregardless, regurgitative. We had water day and we threw balloons at the teacher. It was fantastic. The balloons were flipping and flying everywhere, and I got little Joe wet, okay? I got Sleepy Joe so wet he looked like he peed his pants, and quite frankly, that's what we did. We called him Little Pee-Pee Pants, okay?
I want to let you know I'm doing the soup and salad. And I'll be eating all the soup. I know you heard me say I'll be eating soup. But what I said was I'm eating all of it. I don't care how many bowls it takes. I know you got an end to your endless soup. And I'm going to find that end. Trust me. I've closed down 3 other Olive Gardens. I got this.
Mikey, this kind of nonsense is not allowed. You know what Tommy did? He busted my Legos. He took my Legos, he smashed them. I don't like that. I don't like people that smash other people's Legos. I was working on a big thing. I had a big deal working. It was a giant statue. It was a big Death Star. You know the Death Star, the Star Wars Death Star? That's what I was working on, Mikey. One of those big pieces, and Tommy comes in and he just kicks it over. Like it was nothing. I want him gone. You take his juice box, you take his lunch money, whatever you need to take, you do it. Because my dad will find you if you don't.
Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice. Okay, today in preschool, I was put in timeout. Okay, quite frankly, it was very sad. I shouldn't have been put in timeout. It was wrong, okay, tremendously wrong, irregardless, regurgitative. But I was playing with Legos, and, somebody was fighting over the Legos I was playing with, and I said, listen, guys, okay, you guys are going crazy, okay, and I said, you guys don't know what you're doing. You don't know what you're doing at all, okay, quite frankly, and then I said the F word, okay, I said the F word, and then the kiddies, they went and they told the teacher, they said, Donnie said the F word, okay, and she said, Donnie, you can't say that word, and I said, excuse me, since when is fun a bad word? Okay, she said, Donnie, fun is not the F word. I said, well, I'd like to know what is. And she told me, she said, this is the F word. And I said, welcome back to another episode of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today, the teacher told us all about lights, okay? And quite frankly, I'm so confused because the light she used was very heavy, okay? And I thought maybe they would call it a heavy, okay? But they call it a light. And in a lot of cases, in some cases, it's not light, it's very heavy. And I don't know why they don't call it heavy, okay? We need to turn the heavy on, okay? Or turn something on because it's not the lights, okay? Because there's a lot of lights that are not light at all. And maybe call it the brights, okay? Because they are very bright. They're always bright. The lights are always bright, but the brights are not always light, I think that's what we should do with it. Quite frankly, I don't know, but I think that's what we should do. And people should keep doing it because I said so, okay? It doesn't make sense to little Donnie, and if it doesn't make sense to me, it probably doesn't make sense to a lot of people when you look at it. So we should call them brights, a bright light or a light bright, because, like we said, it could be a bright that is light, but it cannot be a light that is bright because they're not light, okay?
My fellow Americans, we need to get the top 1% out of the milk. I don't like 1% milk. Try an almond alternative, the almond beverage. My personal favorite, the oat beverage, okay? The oat beverage. Because the top 1% of the top 2% of milk is bad for this economy. The American people are dying because of the milk. The 1% milk, we need to get that out. We need whole milk or we need milk alternatives. And that is what I'm running on. Whole milk or milk alternatives. Use the oat milk, use the almond milk. Just don't use the 1%. The 1% do not care about you.
I believe in aliens because I have been to a 24-hour Walmart after midnight. It's like a Star Wars cantina, It's just like, is that Chewbacca at the door? No, it's just a tweaker going, Is that an Ewok? No, it's just a little person with a fishing pole. It's just not...
Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today in preschool, I went up to my friend Ron, who was building a Lego tower, okay? Lots of little Lego towers, okay? And I said, listen, Ron, I am going to knock over this tower, okay? And I knocked it over, and he said, Donald, why did you do that? And I said, because we need to stop knocking over towers, okay? And they said, but Donald, you just knocked over my tower, and you told me not to knock over towers. That doesn't seem fair. And I said, okay, you see that tiny little tower over there that QQ is building? Okay, we love QQ. QQ. What a great word, QQ. Anyways, QQ was building a tiny tower. I said, you can knock that tiny tower over, okay? And then we'll both stop knocking over towers, okay? And Ron said, you know what? That sounds fantastic. Quite frankly, I've always wanted to knock over QQ's tower. So they knocked over QQ's tower. And now nobody's knocking over towers. Everybody is building the greatest towers when you look at it. BB over there in the corner is building probably the greatest tower. He is my best buddy. I love him so much. We are building the greatest towers. Nobody's ever seen towers like we're building. We're probably building the best. We have the mightiest towers in the history of towerdom, okay, quite frankly.
You can't go out to eat. You just went grocery shopping. Even though your fat ass is hungry, you can't go out to eat. It's a waste of money, man. Who said that? All right. It's too hot! Thank you. Good evening. This weather is really hot. And I didn't expect that the weather would be this hot. And it's probably hotter than the bombs we're sending to Iran. I'm Tucker Carlson. Hello, dear. And welcome back to another episode of Records with Robin, where I show you my record collection. Up first, we've got the incredible, the wonderful, the marvelous Jonathan Winters. A man so cool they could have named him Jonathan Fall. Or Spring, who knows? It depends on where you live. Up second, we've got the Marx Brothers, Groucho, Chico, and Harpo. Did you know one of them was named Adolf? Probably why they changed the name. And finally, we've got Bread. Actually, I'm kind of hungry. Let's not do that one. And finally, we have the #1 records by Stevie Wonder. Did you see that coming? He didn't. Oh, enjoy. Hello, dear. And welcome back to Singing with Robin, where I'm gonna sing you one of my favorite songs. Hit it, Al! Well, Alibaba had them 40 thieves, Shahrazad had 1,000 tales. But master, you're in luck, 'cause up your sleeve you got a brand of magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now, some heavy ammunition in your camp. You got some punch, pizzazz, yahoo, and how. All you gotta do is rub that lamp, and I'll say, Mr. Aladdin, sir, what will your pleasure be? Let me take your order, jotted down. You ain't never had a friend like me. Life is your restaurant, and I'm your Major D. Come on, whisper what it is you want. You ain't never had a friend like me. Yes, sir, we pride ourselves on service. You're the boss, the king, the shah. Say what you wish, it's yours to dish. About a little more baklava. Have some of column A, try all of column B. I'm in the mood to help you, dude. You ain't never had a friend like me. Wah, wah, wah. No, no. Wah, wah, wah. No, no. Wah, wah, wah. No, no.
Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? This weekend was my birthday, okay? And quite frankly, it was actually only one day because they said, Donnie, you can't have 3 days. And I said, but why? And they said, because you're only born on one day. And I said, okay. So this weekend was the day of my birth, but not really because that was years ago, okay? And quite frankly, I don't know why. There was the day of birth, and then they flip it, and now it's the birth of day. But regardless, regurgitate if we're looking into it. But I was told I could bring cupcakes for my party, okay, at school. And I was very confuzzled because I don't want to bring cakes made out of cups, okay? I don't want to do it. I said no, I want to bring in a big cake. And they said, Donald, you can bring in cupcakes. They're little cakes, minute cakes. And I said, I don't want to bring in cakes made out of cups. And they said, Donald, they're not made out of cups. They're just called cupcakes. And I said, why are they called cupcakes if they're not made out of cups? And they said, Donald, that's a great question. We're looking into it. And I said, well, you better, because that's confuzzling, okay? Irregardless, regurgitative. I brought in cupcakes, okay, and they were great. Everybody loved them. They were probably the greatest cupcakes anybody's ever had. And they were so great. Everybody had one except Sleepy Joe, because he slept through the entire process. And by the time he woke up, there were no cakes left. Okay, and we said, Joe, we're sorry, but you shouldn't have been sleeping. Okay.
This is my impression of Ben Shapiro getting road rage. The fact of the matter is, you're driving entirely too slow. I marched left, and I sped around you with such speed. Some people would call me a racer, in fact, but they would call you a tortoise. The fact that you still have your license is asinine. I know you're only 16 years old by the looks of it. I can't really tell. You're not supposed to make assumptions anymore. I made assumptions. I don't even know how you passed your license. Who gave you a license? It looks like I need to quit my job as one of the best radio hosts of all time, as one of the best television hosts of all time, as one of the best hosts of all time, as one of the best thinking minds of our generation. I need to quit my job. I need to get a job at the DMV, and I need to look into how you got your license, and I need to remove that license from you. I'm just trying to get my Dunkin' Donuts right now, and you are totally messing up that vibe by going 25 and a 55. Do you understand what you are doing?
So I want to go and I want to get something done the Mike's way, okay? Mike, not Pence, is terrible. Give me the Mikey way, okay? Mikey, what a great guy. Mike Wazowski. Mike. I love that word, Mike. You know, people talking to the microphone, okay? Mike, we'll get it the microphone way, quite frankly. Mike, as in Mike Trout, fantastic baseball player when you look at it. I want it done the Mike Trout way. I like it, Mike, okay? Mike, I like Michael Jordan, quite frankly, or Michael Jackson, because, quite frankly, they're both tremendous MJs. Do it the MJ way, quite frankly. Spider-Man, when you look into it. We love the Spider-Man, the Spooderman is... Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today, my buddy Ben, okay? Good old Benny boy. We call him Benny Buttons, quite frankly. Sometimes, you know, irregardless, regurgitative. But Benny told me that I should run, okay? He said, Donald, we're going to run a race, okay? We're going to run a race, and I think you and I are going to be so fast. We are going to be best of buddies, and we are going to beat everybody else, okay? We're going to beat everybody else. And he said, all we got to do is run, okay? And, you know, we did it. And I ran so fast, okay? I ran so fast. I was so better than anybody else. Nobody was running as fast as I ran. You know, I ran faster than the country of Japan. Okay, quite frankly, I love that. You know, it doesn't make any sense, but I think it rhymes. Okay, I love rhymes. Rhyme all of the time. Okay, and when I'm done, I'll get some lime. Okay, I love rhyming words, quite frankly, but I ran so fast, and I am the best runner of all time when you look at it. A lot of people are saying that nobody has run better, okay? You look at it, a lot of people are saying it. Some people were saying that somebody else did, but it was me, okay? Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today, the teacher told us all about yellow jackets, okay? And quite frankly, I'm so confused because they just look like bees, okay? And they're not wearing tiny jackets, okay? They said they're called yellow jackets, and quite frankly, I didn't see any zippers or any buttons or anything. There were no jackets, so I don't know why they're called yellow jackets. They should just be called tiny bees, okay? Because the bumblebee, you know, I don't even know why they call it bumble, okay? It doesn't bumble, it buzzes. They should call it the buzzy bee, okay? The busy buzzy bee, because then you could be a busy buzzy bee. That's a tongue twister. Say that 2 times fast. Busy buzzy bee, busy buzzy bee. But they don't call it the busy buzzy bee. They call it a bumblebee, okay? And they should call it a little bee, okay? A tiny bee, a baby bee, maybe, okay? A preschool bee. But not a yellow jacket, because there's no jackets. There's no little bees wearing jackets. I was all excited. I thought there was going to be a little bee wearing a jacket and, like me, have a jacket. But no jackets, just a little bee, okay? All right. My name is Frank. Drebin Jr. This is Police Squad.
Listen up, player. My name is Frank Drebin Jr., and I do not play. I am the one and only member of Police Squad.
And my name is Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad.
Listen to me. My name is Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad.
I am Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad.
My name is Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad.
Well, I am Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad, okay? Welcome back to another edition of the Preschool Apprentice, okay? Today it was Saturday, okay? Saturday, okay? And quite frankly, I saw a lot of people standing, okay? I'm really confused. A lot of people were standing. I've been sitting, okay? I was sat all day, okay? Saturday, okay? And people are not sitting, okay? Why are people not sitting? It is Saturday, not Standard Day. They don't call it Standard Day, okay? They call it Saturday, okay? And nobody is sat, okay? I don't know why that is, okay? I looked everywhere. Nobody was sat, irregardless, regurgitative, but it's Saturday, okay, and I did absolutely nothing, okay? I played a little bit of Legos, a minute bit of Legos, okay? I built a tower, and it fell down, and I said, oopsie, and then I went right back to sitting because it's Saturday, and I sit better than anybody's ever said. They should have called it Trump Sits Day, okay? Trump Sits Day. Quite frankly, I think that would be fantastic.